Part 1. The Children in the Falling Pod. The first thing Marcus Vale heard was the alarm. The second was a voice coming through his dead radio. "Human, do not open the pod." Marcus froze. He was standing alone on an ice field at the edge of nowhere, with a storm building behind him and a burning object falling from the black sky. His radio had been broken for 3 days. There was no reason anyone should have been talking through it. Then the object struck the ice. The impact shook Marcus off his feet. A wall of frozen dust exploded across the field, followed by a deep metallic boom that rolled through the mountains. Marcus stared at the burning wreck. His first thought was simple. Someone was inside. His second thought was worse. Someone had just warned him not to help them. He grabbed his emergency rifle, jumped onto his snow crawler, and raced toward the crash. The wind screamed around him. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. But Marcus kept going. He had spent 11 years working alone on the frozen mining moon of Vera 9. He had seen storms that could freeze exposed skin in seconds. He had seen mining machines disappear beneath the ice. But he had never seen a ship fall out of the sky like this. When he reached the wreck, smoke poured from its broken hull. The pod was not human. It was too smooth, too advanced. And across its side was a symbol Marcus did not recognize. 3 silver circles surrounding a black star. He climbed onto the hull and found the emergency hatch. It was locked. Something was hitting it from inside. Once, twice, then silence. Marcus pulled the manual release. Nothing happened. He pulled again. The metal screamed. Finally, the hatch opened. 3 small figures were hiding inside. They were children. Their bodies were thin and covered in torn gray-blue survival suits. Their eyes reflected the emergency lights like frightened animals. The largest child immediately stepped forward. He could not have been more than 10 years old. He spread his arms to protect the other 2. Marcus lowered his rifle. "Easy," he whispered. "I'm not going to hurt you." The child stared at him. Then Marcus noticed something behind them. A 4th figure lay across the floor. An adult. Dead. There was blood beneath her body. Marcus climbed inside. The children screamed. He stopped. He raised both hands. "I'm here to help." The largest child pointed at the dead woman. Then at Marcus. Then he made a strange gesture across his throat. Marcus understood. She was gone. He slowly nodded. "I know." The child's face changed. For the first time, Marcus saw fear turn into grief. He had no idea who these children were. He did not know their language. He did not know where they came from. But he knew one thing. They were freezing. So Marcus did what any human would do. He ignored the warning. He carried them back to his hauler. The youngest child refused to leave the wreck until Marcus returned for the dead woman. That surprised him. She was tiny, barely strong enough to stand. Yet she pointed back toward the pod again and again. Marcus finally understood. "You want her to come too?" The child nodded. Marcus went back. He wrapped the body in a thermal sheet and carried her through the storm. By the time they reached the hauler, all 3 children were nearly unconscious. Marcus turned the heaters to maximum. He activated every emergency blanket he had. Then he discovered the next problem. His medical system had no idea what these creatures needed. Their blood chemistry was completely different. Their food requirements were unknown. Their body temperature was strange. Marcus stared at the scanner. "Great," he muttered. 3 alien kids and no instruction manual. The oldest child stared at him. Marcus sighed. "Yeah, I know. Bad joke." The youngest suddenly made a tiny sound. A laugh. Marcus looked at her. She looked away. It was the first sign that they might survive. For the next 6 days, Marcus barely slept. He repaired the damaged pod. He built a small heating chamber. He experimented with food. He learned that the oldest was called Kale. The second child was named Syrah. The youngest had a name that human speech could not pronounce. Marcus called her Pip. She loved it. Within 2 weeks, Pip followed him everywhere. Within 1 month, Cale started helping him repair machinery. And Syrah discovered something that made Marcus deeply uncomfortable. She could memorize star maps after seeing them once. Marcus thought it was a coincidence. Then she correctly identified a navigation route that he had been calculating for 3 hours. He stared at her. She simply smiled. "What are you?" She pointed toward herself, then toward the stars, and whispered one word. "Royal." Marcus laughed. He thought she was joking. He stopped laughing when the damaged pod finally gave him a readable identification file. Marcus opened it. His face went pale. The 3 children were not refugees. They were not ordinary passengers. They were the missing heirs of the largest empire in known space. And the dead woman had not been their mother. She had been their guardian. The official report said all 3 children had died 3 years earlier. Their transport had been destroyed by unknown attackers. Marcus looked at Cale. Cale was watching him. The boy knew. Marcus slowly closed the report. He understood the danger now. If the children were alive, someone had spent 3 years making sure they stayed dead. That meant someone might still be looking for them. Marcus erased the file. He shut down the pod's transmitter. Then he looked at the 3 children. "Okay," he whispered. "You're staying with me." 3 years passed. Marcus never contacted the authorities. He taught Cale how to repair engines. He taught Syrah navigation. He taught Pip everything. And they taught him something he had forgotten. How to laugh. How to care. How to call a place home. Then, on a quiet morning, every alarm inside Marcus's hauler began screaming. He ran to the cockpit. A ship had appeared above the ice. It was larger than the entire mining station. Hundreds of lights burned across its dark hull. Marcus reached for his weapon. Then the ship transmitted one sentence. "Human Marcus Vale." Marcus froze. The voice continued. "We have come for the children." Behind him, Cale whispered one word. "Grandmother." Marcus turned. All 3 children were terrified. And that was when he realized something. They were not afraid of the woman coming to rescue them. They were afraid of what would happen when she found out who had saved them. Marcus stood inside the airlock with his hand near his weapon. Beyond the sealed door was the largest ship he had ever seen. Its dark silver hull covered half the sky, surrounded by smaller warships that looked like insects beside it. Behind Marcus stood Cale, Syrah, and Pip. None of them wanted to leave his side. Pip was holding his jacket so tightly that her tiny fingers had turned pale. Marcus looked at them. "Stay close." Cale nodded. The airlock opened. 6 armored soldiers entered first. Their armor was black with silver markings, and every weapon they carried looked advanced enough to destroy Marcus's entire hauler in seconds. Then she entered. An older alien woman walked slowly into the room. She wore no helmet. Silver markings covered one side of her face, and a long dark coat rested over her armor. She looked powerful without needing to prove it. Then she saw the children. Everything changed. The woman stopped breathing for a moment. Her eyes filled with disbelief. "Cale." The oldest boy stepped forward. "Grandmother." The woman dropped to one knee. For several seconds, she simply stared at him. Then she pulled all 3 children into her arms. Pip disappeared against her chest. Syrah began crying. Cale tried to remain strong, but his face broke too. Marcus quietly looked away. He had never seen someone look so relieved. After several minutes, the woman stood and faced him. "I am Empress Vaila of the Arkan Dominion." Marcus nodded. "Marcus Vale." "I know who you are." Marcus frowned. "You do. We have searched for these children for 3 years." Her eyes moved toward the 3 children. They were declared dead. Marcus felt something cold move through his chest. They weren't dead. No. Vaila looked directly at him. "You kept them alive." Marcus shrugged. "They were freezing when I found them. You could have contacted the authorities." "I didn't know who to trust." Vaila's expression became serious. "You made the correct choice." Marcus stared at her. "What happened to their ship?" Vaila was silent for a moment. Then she answered. It was not a random attack. She explained that the children were members of the royal family. Their transport had been attacked 3 years earlier by forces inside the Dominion. Someone wanted all 3 heirs dead. Marcus looked toward Cale. The boy was listening. You mean someone inside your own empire tried to kill them? Yes. Why? Power. That single word explained everything. The attack had been covered up. The dead guardian had fought until the children escaped. The official story had claimed the entire royal family was lost. But Vaila had never believed it. She had searched hundreds of worlds. Now she had finally found them. Marcus crossed his arms. So what happens now? They return home. Pip immediately shook her head. No. Everyone looked at her. She grabbed Marcus's hand. Home. Marcus looked at Vaila. The Empress understood immediately. For 3 years, the children had built their own home inside an old human holler. Vaila slowly nodded. I understand. Marcus expected her to demand the children. Instead, she surprised him. You may come with us. Marcus blinked. Why? Because they trust you. They're your family. Vaila looked at the children. So are you. Marcus did not answer. He looked at the 3 faces that had become part of his life. Finally, he agreed. His old hauler was loaded onto the Imperial ship. The journey began. For the first time, Marcus saw the world the children had come from. Massive cities floated above planets. Ships crossed the stars in seconds. Entire moons had been transformed into military bases. Marcus realized how small his life on Vera 9 had been. But something felt wrong. On the 4th day, one of the ship's engines suddenly shut down. Then another. The lights flickered. The ship stopped. Marcus was checking the emergency systems when he heard a strange sound. A warning tone. Then the bridge doors locked. Marcus ran toward the command deck. Several Imperial officers were unconscious. The main navigation screen showed a new destination. A dead moon appeared on the map. Marcus stared at it. Who changed the route? No one answered. Vaila entered the bridge. She looked at the screen. Her expression immediately hardened. Turn the ship around. The navigation system refused. Marcus examined the controls. This isn't a normal malfunction. Vaila looked at him. What do you see? Someone has taken control of navigation. Marcus zoomed in on the moon. Then he noticed something. The moon was surrounded by thousands of tiny signals. His stomach tightened. That's not a moon. Vaila stepped closer. What? It's a gravity trap. Silence filled the bridge. The ship was being pulled toward it. And then the fleet disappeared from the scanners. One ship after another vanished. Marcus stared at the screen. They're being pulled into the field. Vaila immediately ordered the fleet to break formation. Too late. Weapons suddenly appeared from the darkness. Dozens of enemy ships emerged from behind the moon. Then hundreds. Cale ran onto the bridge. Marcus. Marcus turned. The boy's face had gone pale. They found us. Marcus looked at the enemy fleet. How many? Cale swallowed. Too many. The first enemy weapons fired. The Imperial shields exploded with light. The ship shook violently. Pip screamed. Marcus grabbed the nearest railing. Vaila shouted orders. Her soldiers rushed to their stations. But the enemy fleet was too large. Then a transmission appeared. A masked figure filled the screen. You should have let the children die. Vaila stepped forward. Who are you? The figure laughed. Someone who knows exactly what those children will become. The transmission ended. Marcus looked at Cale, Syrah, and Pip. For 3 years, he had protected them from the cold. Now he had to protect them from an entire fleet. The Imperial commander looked at Marcus. We cannot win this battle. Marcus stared through the window. Hundreds of enemy ships surrounded them. Then he noticed something. Far away, several tiny lights were moving toward the battlefield. 1. Then 5. Then 20. Marcus smiled. Vaila noticed. What is that? Marcus reached for his old emergency transmitter. My neighbors. Vaila stared at him. Neighbors. Marcus activated the signal. Across the battlefield, dozens of ancient human cargo ships changed direction. They had received his message. They were not warships. They had no advanced weapons. Most barely had working shields. But they were coming anyway. Marcus looked at the approaching ships. Then he smiled. Part 3. Humanity's Final Answer. The first human cargo ship entered the battlefield without firing a single shot. It simply kept moving. Enemy fighters surrounded it. Red beams struck its hull. Metal exploded across the ship. But the old freighter continued forward. Then another human ship appeared. Then another. Soon, dozens of battered cargo vessels filled the darkness. The Imperial soldiers watched in disbelief. These were not warships. They were mining ships, rescue vessels, transport ships, and old haulers. They had no chance against the enemy fleet. At least, that was what everyone thought. Marcus watched the battlefield from the command deck. Open a channel. Vaila looked at him. To whom? All human ships. The channel opened. Marcus spoke calmly. Don't fight their ships. The pilots listened. Attack their engines, weapons, and communication systems. Make them blind. The first human mining ship changed direction. Its giant industrial laser fired. Instead of hitting the enemy hull, it struck an engine. The enemy cruiser stopped dead. Another human ship released hundreds of repair drones. The tiny machines crawled across an enemy vessel and shut down its weapons. The Imperial officers stared. Marcus smiled. They don't need better weapons. Vaila looked at him. Why? Because they know how to use what they have. The battle changed. Human ships moved like workers instead of soldiers. They pulled damaged Imperial ships out of danger. They blocked enemy fire with cargo containers. They used mining equipment as weapons. They even released frozen water from their tanks, creating clouds of ice that confused enemy sensors. For every ship the enemy destroyed, 3 more appeared. Then the enemy flagship arrived. It was enormous. Its black armor covered the stars behind it. Every weapon on its surface began charging. Vaila's face became pale. That is the command ship. Marcus looked at the children. Kale was staring at the flagship. Syrah was studying the tactical display. Pip held Marcus's hand. We can't beat that, Vaila said. Marcus shook his head. We don't have to. He pointed toward the screen. We only need to reach it. Syrah suddenly stepped forward. I found a path. Marcus looked at her. She pointed toward 2 enemy cruisers. There. A narrow space existed between them. It was almost impossible to cross. But it led directly toward the flagship. Marcus smiled. Good work. He turned toward Vaila. I need my hauler. Vaila stared at him. That old machine. Marcus nodded. It got us here. A few minutes later, the old human hauler launched. Marcus sat in the pilot's seat. Kale handled the engines. Syrah controlled navigation. Pip sat between them. The enemy fleet noticed them immediately. Fighters raced toward the hauler. Marcus pushed the engines. The old ship shook violently. Warning lights filled the cockpit. Engine temperature critical, Kale shouted. Keep pushing. Marcus, the engine could explode. I know. The hauler slipped between 2 cruisers. Enemy fire struck the rear hull. The ship spun. Pip screamed. Marcus fought the controls. Hold on. The hauler recovered. They were almost at the flagship. Then the ship suddenly lost power. Everything went dark. Marcus stared at the controls. No. Kale looked at him. What now? Marcus smiled. We use the old-fashioned way. He opened a maintenance panel and pulled out a thick cable. Kale stared. You can't be serious. I'm a human mechanic. Of course I'm serious. He connected the cable directly to the navigation system. The engines came back online. The hauler slammed into the flagship's docking bay. Marcus and the 3 children rushed inside. Security forces attacked. Marcus fought with everything he had. He was not a trained soldier, but he had spent years surviving alone on an ice world. He knew how to stay alive. Kale helped him. Syrah found alternate routes. Pip carried an emergency power cell almost as big as herself. Together, they reached the command chamber. The door opened. A man stood waiting. He wore the uniform of a Dominion commander. Vaila recognized him instantly. General Rovan. Rovan smiled. "You finally came." Vaila raised her weapon. "You ordered the attack. I ordered the children erased." Kale stepped forward. "Why?" Rovan looked at him. "Because one of you will become the next ruler." He pointed toward the children. "And I will not serve another ruler." Marcus stepped between them. Rovan laughed. "You are only human." Marcus looked behind him. Kale. Syrah. Pip. Then he looked back at Rovan. "Maybe." Rovan raised his weapon. Marcus moved first. A shot hit the wall. Kale pulled Syrah down. Pip activated the power cell. The entire command room went dark. Syrah reached the control terminal. "I have it." "What?" "The fleet network." Marcus understood. "Can you shut it down?" Syrah nodded. "I can open the system." Marcus connected his old repair cable. Syrah stared at him. "You really use that for everything?" Marcus smiled. "It works." Together, human stubbornness and alien intelligence broke into the enemy command system. Across the battlefield, hundreds of enemy ships suddenly lost control. Their weapons shut down. Their engines stopped. The Imperial fleet moved in. Within minutes, the enemy surrendered. General Rovan was arrested. The coup was over. The 3 royal children were alive. And the Empire had survived. After the battle, Vaila offered Marcus everything. Gold. A palace. A fleet. A title. Marcus refused. "I don't need any of that." Vaila smiled. "Then what do you want?" Marcus looked at the children. "A home." Months later, Marcus stood on the balcony of a quiet world. Kale was repairing an engine. Syrah was studying the stars. Pip was chasing a small robot across the garden. Marcus watched them with a tired smile. 3 years earlier, he had found them inside a burning pod. He had expected nothing. No reward. No fame. No empire. He had simply seen 3 children freezing to death. And he had helped them. Now the entire galaxy knew his name. But Marcus never considered himself a hero. When reporters asked why he had risked everything for alien children, he always gave the same answer. They were cold. That simple sentence became famous. Because the galaxy finally understood what made humans different. Humans did not protect others because they were always stronger. They protected others because, once they called someone family, they refused to abandon them. Not for money. Not for power. Not even for an empire. Pip eventually climbed onto Marcus's chair and rested her head against his shoulder. "Home," she whispered. Marcus smiled.